we still have the influence of the legends on a day-to-day basis. They're around the building. I speak to Eddie on a weekly basis. He's still trying to get to games, even though he's not supposed to. He's not supposed to come. But people who've been the heartbeat.
Bex, he said legends, mate.
This is the official Leeds United podcast.
So, Pat, talk to me.
Yep.
What happened?
Do you know what? We didn't get it wrong. We were just out of time, out of touch, I think, a little bit. After watching the video today, we were pressing in the right sequences, but we were just slow to every press. And giving them
your reaction times, or what?
So we were getting to the press where we were meant to be, but we were a yard off it, so we weren't tight enough, so they could then move the ball around us. So it looked like we were chasing shadows for the first, or for a good chunk of the first half, and then we didn't deal with playing out from the back as well as we should. I think that they had their game plan down to a T in the way they penned us in and how we wanted to play out, which I think we struggled to get to grips with. And second half, I think the reason why the manager was so frustrated with us is because second half we came out, and I know it's easy to say that 3-0 down there's no pressure, but we came out and played the way that we should have played at the first half. And ultimately, if we'd have played that way through the whole game, it'd have probably been a different result. But yeah, it was, that first half especially was frustrating. I'm not going to lie, it was a tough one. Listening on together.
Has it gone better than you could have imagined? Obviously, bringing Bielsa in, we had big high hopes and all the rest. But we've really come a long way in the time that you've been at Leeds. Is it gone even beyond your expectations?
I think what surprised me is and it shouldn't have surprised me, because I came because I knew it was a big club, but the size of the club and the scale of the club has surprised me as which has followed the success. It really not only is it owned by the city, but there's an interest in Leeds United globally, which I don't think exists for many clubs, or probably any clubs outside the top six. So I think our ambition of being a top six side was actually absolutely right. I think the journey that we've taken to get here has been sort of more of a roller coaster than I expected. But I think the way that we went up last year and the way that we've approached the Premier League, I don't think I could have hope for any more. I mean, the team's performances last year and the way they stuck together both on and off the pitch, I've always said they should have a special place in Leeds United history for the way they acted. Not only the way they played, but the way they came together over COVID. And I'm not sure all the fans really realised what they did then. But for me, it was the best indication of side before self, and it just showed how special the club is.
Tell us more about what they did, if they don't know.
Well, it still probably hurts Patrick, but we were in a really tight financial situation with COVID. We lost all our revenue streams overnight, and it really placed the club in a very difficult position. And lots of clubs, including lots of Premier League clubs, have actually had to make significant redundancies, as in relation to COVID. At Leeds United, every single member of staff who was here at the start is still here. Every single member of staff has been paid 100%. And the only way we were able to do that was we went and asked the players, the senior. There's a senior team of I don't know whether Pat will know whether they appoint themselves, but he's one of them. And we had to go to that. Victor and I went to that team and said, can we work to defer your wages till things are back to normal to protect the jobs of the staff? And I anticipated a really difficult conversation, and it wasn't difficult at all. They all agreed immediately. It was selfless. It wasn't how footballers are portrayed and expected to act. They put the club and the club staff before everybody else. And I'd like to think that the kind of unity that bred within the club helped us achieve what we ended up achieving, and probably the players also knew that the best chance of them getting the money back was to get promoted, so that probably added another element of motivation.
Little incentive there. One thing that we've chatted about on this podcast, and I've spoken to a lot of fans about this, is that it feels like Leeds United at the minute has become a real community club, in a way that Premier League football, football in general, has felt a bit detached from in recent years. It's become a bit sterile, and it's become a money game. Whereas it feels like when you've come in and Rads and everyone in the background, and I hear stories like that the players have done that for the staff, who I assume are all local Leeds people who live around Leeds and have come into work. Was that a conscious decision to really give this club back to the city after all the stuff we've been through for the last 15, 16 years?
Yeah, I think we wanted to. I didn't think the club had become a club that the city deserved more. It deserved better. Had this fantastic loyal fan base, people still coming week after week, and the way it was performing on the pitch and behaving off it just wasn't aligned to those values. And there was so much hope and expectation. I think we thought that if and it was actually Andrea. When I first spoke to Andrea about the opportunity, he said we want to put community at the heart of everything we do. The foundation's grown over time. We've still got we still have the influence of the legends on a day-to-day basis. They're around the building. I speak to Eddie on a weekly basis. He's still trying to get to games, even though he's not supposed to. He's not supposed to come. But people who've been the heartbeat.
Bex, he said legends, mate.
Well, it's speaking of which, let's talk contract, shall we?
My new agent's here. Forgot to tell you about this.
Pat's employed me to play hardball today.
Okay.
We want 8 years minimum.
Yeah, considering what you just said, 8 years is alright, I think.
100 a week, right? 100 a week. You want extra £100 a week.
Yeah,
and then just don't want to get on the coach with Alioski anymore.
We can certainly just talk about it. From our perspective, we've been very clear with Patrick. As I read in the media all last season, he's not good enough to play in the Premier League, and when he can finally prove that he can score goals at this level, we can sit down and have a conversation. But till then, nothing's happening.
That sounds fair to me, Patrick.
Right, if an 8-year deal's on the card, then I'll keep that in mind.
There's a clear vision from Andrea and the 49ers that we should have a world-class stadium for a world-class team.
Is that going to take less than 8 years?
And Angus, regarding the fans, have there been any conversations about whether when they'll be allowed back in, or when it looks likely that could happen?
Yeah, there were a lot of conversations before specifically about supporters. Now it's been tied up much more in terms of the sort of the macro kind of health environment and when people are going to be getting their lives back to normal. I think there's a good chance of potentially something happening at the end of the season for the cup finals. But I think most of the Premier League is focused on ensuring that we get a full return to fans at the start of next season. I think the learning across everybody, as we've looked at all the operational requirements, it's actually just better to get everybody back, rather than have half or 25%. We just need to get back to full stadiums. And the encouraging thing for me is I look out of the boardroom window here and I can see the Centenary Pavilion, and there's a queue of people going and getting their jabs at the moment. And we've got 50 members of Leeds United staff donating their time to steward that process and get as many people through there as possible. I think that's our best chance of getting back to normal.
How many goals do we want Pat to get this year? And what are you expecting?
I'd always thought 25 was the target to trigger a new contract discussion. So we've been clear with that from the start. He's got it in him, there's no doubt.
Right. If I hit 25 goals, I'm coming through that door banging on it so loud.
This is the official Leeds United podcast.